At Main Street Arts this Friday evening is called Outburst Teen Night. It's actually sponsored by Greater Falls Connections. It's for ages 13 to 19. It is from 7 to 9 p.m. And you can join, so I'm just going to read what the little blurb is written about it. This is a youth-led, adult-supported program and is a welcoming space for all. You can join us in person to create art, listen to music, watch a movie, write, perform music, sketch, or just hang out. Enjoy free snacks and drinks. Create community as you make new friends and hang out with old friends. So I think that's an awesome combination of Main Street Arts supporting with the space and with kind of what they do, and then the Greater Falls Connections, a great collaboration, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Good.
So that's happening this Friday. And for the adult crowd, happening on Friday night at Chow Popolo is Vermont Moonlighters Jazz at 6 p.m. So
They're really doing some great live music.
they are doing some amazing live music at Chow Popolo, and they have the wonderful lounge, as they call it, which is basically the lobby of the Hotel Wyndham.
Yeah.
So for a little nostalgia and some jazz.
Yeah. And one other point, March 4th and 5th is town meeting days.
Oh, we found
know,
the
I
right
keep-
days. We quoted the
keep
wrong
coming
days
back.
last week.
Okay. Yeah, and that's
Okay.
so something to think about. And the thing that it's good, there are contested contests for the select
No
board this year,
way.
I read. So it might be important to vote. And it's also the day that we do our Vermont primary. So if you
Oh,
want to
okay.
vote for the presidential primary, it's during town meeting time.
Okay, and also, so if anyone has questions, we actually have Scott Pickup coming on next Wednesday to give us a preview of articles,
great.
and we can talk about all that next week. Perfect timing, because I had
Yes.
forgotten to tell you that. Okay, but
to
we
know.
digress. We digress.
All right. Go ahead.
So
I'll let you-
Sarah, you haven't been with us in a while, and I hear you have some new exciting things happening at Sojourns.
Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. We're so excited. Since last year, we've been working on an online wellness library for you guys. And Sephirah, who you'll hear from today, has a course up there, and we've got an array of other content providers. Some of the classes are live, some are downloadable, some are both. So two of the new ones I want to point out to you are Cravings Decoded with Julia Hampton, which is coming up at the end of February. And Sephirah is still filling her anti-inflammatory reset. And then we've got some others like Get to Sleep. I know in the winter, sometimes my sleep schedule just feels really off. And so if you're struggling with chronic insomnia or even just trouble waking up in the middle of the night, this would be a great course for you guys to take. And then there's some other things for caregivers, de-stressing, chronic pain. So it's all here. Just go to sojourns.org and click on the wellness education link, and you can sign up for any of those courses. And then they also benefit Sojourns. So we get a percentage of proceeds from those courses. So it's a win-win all around. And we hope you all are doing well in winter, staying warm and happy. And then we also just want to remind you that we have a supplement store at Sojourns Clinic where you can walk in during the day and buy carefully vetted supplements. Our doctors really look at the ingredients thoroughly, so they're the best sources for your supplements. And we're also launching a new online store soon. So we want you to stay tuned for that.
Wonderful.
Great. Thank you. So, moving on to
Moving on to Sephirah.
Sephirah. What are you good?
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes. What are we talking about today?
Oops.
Did we lose Sephirah?
Sorry, I was
there
on
we
mute.
go.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me back. And the last time I was here, I was talking about anti-inflammatory diets, and then you mentioned that you really were interested in blood sugar balance, and that's a thing that I really love to talk about and support people in balancing their blood sugar and helping them to be aware that actually that's an issue, because sometimes people are walking around with pre-diabetes and the doctors are not even telling them about the diabetes, the pre-diabetes that they have that they can prevent with lifestyle changes, and then don't get that news until they already have full-blown diabetes, which for sure we can make a difference with, but it's better to know about it when it is starting to be an imbalance.
What are so how would someone, like if someone was looking at their labs, what would they look at themselves to know what the range is for prediabetes?
So that's a great question. So most people, if you're going to the doctor, are getting their fasting blood sugar done. And so the fasting blood sugar is measuring your blood sugar over the last like few hours, really, the last 12 or 24 hours. And so it doesn't give you the whole picture of what's happening, like when once you have prediabetes and diabetes, then the doctor will look at the hemoglobin A1C, and that's giving you kind of a better, broader picture of what's going on. But I really like to see the fasting glucose to be below 100 and maybe even below 95. And so if you get a fasting blood sugar that's above that, then you might want to go and explore that a little further with your doctor or myself, I'm a registered dietitian and nutritionist and working and seeing patients at Sojourns, and I'm always happy to help people navigate through their labs and some simple changes to improve them.
Wonderful. I just know that nowadays it feels like as a patient, you need to advocate for yourself more than ever. So if you understand what to look for, then you can inquire with your doctor and you can be a little bit more proactive, I guess is my point.
Well, I would ask, if you didn't have labs, what sort of physical symptoms would you be thinking about or looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just before we move from the lab piece, I just want to name that holistic doctors are looking at a really much fuller spectrum of other things that can be showing that your metabolism and your blood sugar is not working optimally. Like you can measure your fasting insulin, there's other things as well. But as far as symptoms go, is like if you are experiencing brain fog or really low energy, right? Which a lot of people complain of low energy, or like you have this kind of up and then you have all these dips during the day, which that could be part of blood sugar imbalance. Also, everyone I think knows this common word now of the hangry, right? Well, if you're getting hangry regularly, there may be a blood sugar imbalance piece that's going on with that.
If my husband is watching right now, he will be attesting to the fact that is a symptom that I have, but I don't necessarily think I have low blood sugar. Anywho.
Yeah. Well, and I do want to name that, right? So like blood sugar imbalance can be either that you're having low blood sugar or you're having high blood sugar, and you might not even have full-blown pre-diabetes yet, but that you're still going through these swings and your metabolic system is impacted. So if you have these ups and downs, then that might be a signal that like you really want to pay attention to making sure that you're balancing your blood sugar. In a way, it's not just diabetes and pre-diabetes. We all really need to, especially as we age, be making sure that we're supporting our metabolism the best we can and keeping things more on the even plane.
And what does that mean when you say balancing your blood sugar?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as humans, we want to keep our the amount of sugar that's in our bloodstream between 70 and 100 most of the time. After you eat, you'll get a surge of sugar into your bloodstream, higher or lower depending on what you've eaten. And then your body will dispense that energy to your cells, hopefully, and then get your blood sugar back to an even place. If it's dipping lower, then we'll feel that fatigue and that brain fog and dizziness and maybe even sweaty. And if it's going higher, we can have those similar kind of symptoms as well and just feel like we have to go to sleep. And so we want to keep it in a certain balanced way. The other thing that I find that many people as they age begin to get insulin resistance. And insulin resistance might be the first stage towards getting pre-diabetes or diabetes or metabolic syndrome. And the insulin resistance is that the insulin receptors on our cells are not, they get broken. So it's almost like the insulin's job is to get the sugar out of the bloodstream and into the cell. And if the insulin receptor, which is like the lock, is broken, then when the insulin comes out, it doesn't work, and the sugar remains high in the bloodstream. And really what our goal is to get that energy to our cells so that the mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, can do all of the energy and functioning that it needs to. And there's lots of different things that lead to this insulin resistance piece. Certain doing a lot of fast food and sugar and doing a lot of sugar over time, and just the aspect of aging and not moving impacts all of that. And so, so that's a big piece of having balanced blood sugar, is also making sure that our insulin is working effectively.
Interesting. So that reminded me of like what you were talking about with gut. Like, we have to be aware that, food really affects how our body optimally works. And I don't think that sometimes people make that connection. They just assume certain things are natural aging, but sounds to me like we can have an effect on some of that.
Yes, of course. And that's like, right, the meat that we want to get to is like, how can we affect it and make sure that we're aging healthfully and keeping our cells healthy so that they can absorb the sugar and everything can work optimally. So yes, moving, of course, and exercising is a big thing that makes that all work effectively, and eating a balanced plate. And so we really want to make sure that we're not overdoing the carbohydrates, because too much carbohydrate can lead to this up and down. When I was doing this up and down, like, one of the things I like to share is around, like, you start your day with a donut and a cup of coffee, you're going to raise that blood sugar up high. But when we have something like that, it doesn't last long. So it brings us right back down. And then when we get our blood sugar drops, we're craving those sweets again. And so then you might go for that chocolate bar or something like that goes with your lunch, and we go up again, and then we go back down, and now we need a chocolate chip cookie, and up and down like that. And so if we can have protein, fat, and fiber with all of our meals, then we are more in this even place. And so I am a really big proponent of protein, fat, and fiber to help to keep our blood sugar balanced so that we can have energy throughout our day. Instead of going up and down, we're more balanced in the middle here. And that really helps with the cravings as well.
Yes.
So, lost my train of thought.
Well, I was going to ask, because fat has always been given a bad, at least from my generation, fat was given a bad reputation. Fat was like the worst thing you could have in the whole world. And I guess that thinking is changing, or?
Yeah, and I just said protein, fat, and fiber.
Yes.
And I will say that as a holistic dietitian and nutritionist, sometimes my views are a little bit counter to what the majority are talking about and what's in the mainstream. But I find, and the research is showing, that by having healthy amount of fat, that will slow down your blood sugar response. And so I am a big proponent for making sure that you have fat in your meals. And this is my picture of my ideal plate percentage. So, excuse me. This, I like to say that this is an extrinsic aspect of looking at it, right? I'm telling you, like, this is like the more basic, but really everybody has to listen to what your body tells you is the right ratio of protein, fat, and carbohydrate. So let me back up for a second, just that, there's 3 macronutrients: protein, fat, and fiber. And maybe we talked about this a little bit last time. There's not like 25, there's only 3 macronutrients. And each, every 10 years or so, one of those macronutrients kind of gets like villainized, and it's like, oh, you're not supposed to have that one. And I believe that we're supposed to have all three, and each body is individual of figuring out what that balance of protein, fat, and carbohydrate is. And so back to the plate percentage, right? This is a place to start and see how that feels, where we're having like 1 palm is protein. This is my piece of chicken, 3 ounces of chicken, but certainly there could be vegetarian options for that as well. And then 1 palm of starch. This is brown rice, but could also be sweet potato or other potato, but we want to make sure that we're keeping the protein and the carbohydrate balance, especially for protein, for blood sugar balance. And then we're having half of that plate as non-starchy vegetables. And it's really helpful for balancing our blood sugar to have half of the plate as non-starchy vegetables, because it has so much fiber in it. So it helps to fill our stomach, and it helps to slow down, again, that blood sugar response. So making sure we're having the veggies is a really important part of a healthy diet. And vegetables, they certainly taste better. I froze.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're still good.
So that tastes better when there is fat on them. And so, we like to say, steam broccoli, it's okay. Roast some broccoli with olive oil and garlic, and now it really has just so much more appeal, and we can more easily eat that half of the plate with vegetables. So I think something like olive oil, using coconut oil for cooking, is a really great way to help you get more vegetables.
I have to say that, so I'm super visual. I know I've said this before. That really like solidified your little hand of protein and your hand of starch, and then the vegetables. And I know a tip that you gave me a long time ago, and you just showed it, because it's hard to think of if you're looking at half of your plate and you're thinking half of my plate has to be all broccoli. I'm sorry. There's only so much broccoli one can eat.
Come on.
I'm sorry. But if it can be a quarter broccoli and a quarter, I don't know, summer squash or something like that, then at least, it doesn't seem as daunting. And I think you told me that one time. Think of it as 2 vegetables. So then there's variety and color too. Is that another thing to think about, is add as much color to your plate as you can with the vegetables?
Yeah, yes. I'm hearing, I'll ignore it. Yes, the more, right, I have the broccoli and the green beans here. And so the more type of tastes, then the more likely we're going to eat them. That could be that could be against us as well, right? Because if we have in the carbohydrate section, if we have bread and sweet potato and mashed potatoes and pie, well, all of that tastes so good, and now we're overdoing it on that carbohydrate. But in the vegetable area, we can make that work for us and do more than one vegetable. So like a salad and a cooked vegetable is going to be really helpful. And and variety makes a huge difference in nutrition. Like the more variety, the more nutrition you're getting, the more colors, the more nutrition you're getting. And so, I like to say, we don't want to do lots of colors with Skittles, because that's
Dang.
But the more color you can add to your plate with vegetables, then the more nutrition that you're going to get. I actually just read, I'm reading an interesting book called The Antiviral Diet, and she was talking about actually that they found if you help flora and your overall health as well. So it's like another way to kind of think about, how am I getting more vegetables? And her little tip, which I'm starting to think about, is have 1 vegetable at breakfast, 2 vegetables at lunch, and 3 different vegetables at dinner.
Wow.
I'm taking notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also.
go
ahead. Sorry.
No, I just want to say that knowledge doesn't always equal action, right? But if we have these like little tips of like, oh, okay, 1 pound to protein and to, that we could keep forefront in our head of like, oh, I'm trying for a plate like this, or trying for my 3 vegetables at dinner, then it can start to make it more.
Well,
actionable.
I think.
Yeah, it's
like,
an aspiration, right?
Yeah, it's also like, so, there's so much talk about calories and reducing calories and cut your calories. And so we have this fat-free stuff and sugar-free stuff and all this stuff that is low in nutrient density. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about vegetables, they're naturally low in calories. So you can kind of like eat them with no guilt per se. And that's a simple way. It's a simple way of counting your calories without counting your calories and getting caught up in, oh my God, I hit 1,501 calories today and I'm trying to do 1,500. And the simple thing that you just said, I like simple things, like 1 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, 3 at dinner. That's easy. And naturally, if I do that, then naturally
everything else
can fall into place a little more easily. It's at least a good start, right? We have about 3 minutes left. Can you briefly speak to glycemic index and like white rice versus brown rice, or white versus, Yeah.
So and maybe this is a good time to just put up that picture of the cookie cycle, about that talks about the glycemic index. So is that something we could put up?
Yep, it's up.
Oh, okay, great. So the cookie cycle, and I just want to be able to see it as well. So glycemic index means basically how quickly food increases your blood sugar. And anything highest on the glycemic index is going to dump sugar into your bloodstream the quickest. And then we know that can cause a quick drop. So what you see in this, you can break the vicious cookie cycle, is that when you take foods in that are high on the glycemic index, and like the things highest are going to be like candy and white bread, but certainly like Marty said, the white rice is going to have a higher glycemic index than the brown rice. And that's again because it has the fiber in it, right? So the fiber, protein, and fat are slowing down that glycemic index. When we have foods that are high in the glycemic index, that leads to high blood sugar, which then leads to high insulin levels. Insulin tells the body to store fat. And so the more insulin we're making, the more fat we're storing. And then we get this drop in the blood sugar, which leads to increased hunger. And then we crave all those higher glycemic index foods again. So, and sugar and carbs are going to be the things that are most high on the glycemic index. And like I said, if you're balancing your plate like this and having the protein, fat, and fiber, then we're slowing down that glycemic response and can better control our blood sugar and how we feel. We see on that paper as well, right? If you have lack of energy, crave sweets, feel hungry all the time, and lots of stress, and skipping meals also doesn't help with that blood sugar control as well. So we can get a handle on that, and I am really always happy to coach people towards making those individual changes, right? Because getting 3 veggies at dinner might sound daunting, but together we can uncover how to do that and make it more effective.
Great.
So
thank you.
We are down to less than a minute. So you segued it perfectly. How can people reach you, Sephirah?
Yeah, so at Sojourns, through Sojourns Community Health Clinic, you can schedule a visit with me. Most insurances will cover at least 3 dietitian visits a year. And so you can schedule over at Sojourns. And then like Sara was saying, I do a number of group classes as well. And I really find a lot of benefit in the group programs, because then everyone can get support from other people and hear what they're doing, and it's not just from me. And so in February, I have an anti-inflammatory reset program, which kind of helps reset our whole system, and we'll talk also about balancing the plate. And then I also have a Nourish Your Radiance class that's coming up mid-February, and all of those things can be found on Sojourn's website as well.
Great. That we are, believe it or not, as usual, we are running out. We have no time.
We have no time. Thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to seeing you again, maybe in a few months, and we can talk about something else. It's always an amazing amount of information that you give. So have a good day.
Bye, community.
Okay,
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music.